Hello and welcome back to Yay Basketball, the basketball game show. Monday, June 26th, 2023, recording live from the Yay studio. I am your host and producer, Michael Padilla. Along with me today, I have one, Bob Aldrich.
Hey, Michael, it is June 26th.
Yes, it is. Thank you. As well as one, Justin Moore.
Hi, Michael. It is the 26th of June.
It is indeed. Thank you. Is there a joke being played on me?
No.
Okay, awesome. Love it. And also, special guest via satellite with over 130,000 followers. He's TikTok's go-to college basketball analyst, a defense appreciator, the March Madness maestro, the sage of Swish, the college ball connoisseur. If there's a prediction to nail, he'll hammer it home. Please welcome back to the show, Ryan Hammer.
Yes, sir.
Got me back. Oh.
You got an intro song. There we go. Awesome. Ryan, how you doing, buddy? Good to have you back, man.
It's good to be back. Am I supposed to, June 26th? That's...
Yeah! Nailed it!
Yeah,
Yes!
I guess so. That was the thing today. That was the intro thing for you today. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, rate 5 stars, share with friends, and follow us at @Yay_basketball on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram.
Add me on the ground.
Last week, Justin hosted the show, and we played 5-second violation, had a very special Bob's Bucket and Trey's Facts, and I finally put my skills to the test in Guess That Player. It was an episode, so be sure to check that one out if you have not already.
Simply
Not nice.
an episode.
It was an episode.
It was an episode, that's true. Also, while we're here, go to yaybasketball.com for exclusive YB merch. We've got t-shirts, mugs, hats, stickers, and hoodies with a bunch of great designs, so go grab some of that sweet, sweet Yay Basketball merch. Justin there has the My Man Timothy Duncan mug. I've got the classic mug. We got shirts abound. Go grab some of that. YB merch, yaybasketball.com. Now, before we get into our first game of the day, Justin, can we get an update on the scoreboard and a recap of our picks from last week, please?
You can indeed, Michael. You sit with 1,000 points. You took the Aces over the Mercury, and you were correct.
26-point win, I think, or something, right?
Yes.
Or 20-point win.
20
By the way,
win.
go back and listen to it.
99.79.
When you made that bet, I go,
That's such an easy
bet.
pick.
I was
Yeah.
like, that's the easiest bet ever, man.
Of course it
But
was.
that does put you in
why I
second
took
place
it.
with 1,000 points. Bob,
Yes.
you are in first place with 3,050 points. The Red Sox did beat the Twins. We're a little slow time for basketball, but you were like, yeah, I'll take baseball. It works out.
Yeah.
3,050 points. I'm in last place. I had Scoot being the second overall pick. Thanks, Shams. Talk about FanDuel's problem. But I have 0 points. And that means Brandon Miller being the second pick.
Yep.
He's got 300 points in third place. So
Really had
it's
a lot
coming
to
down
bet.
to me and Trey. So
Look
it's
out.
okay.
Absolutely. And if you guys listening at home want to keep track of all of those game picks, as well as chat with us, ask us questions, or give us game ideas, hit the link in the description of this episode to join our Chalkboard group chat. It's a fun and
Free
way to support the show. Now, like I said, Ryan, we gotta get to a game for you, and then we're gonna ask you a whole bunch of questions about this juicy draft. Can't wait to get to that. So let's just dive in with quote unquote.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote.
Yes, in this one, I will read you 2 quotes. One of them is a real quote from an NBA personality, player, coach, or analyst. One is a quote that I made up. It will be your job to work as a team and tell me which quote is real and what the quote is referring to. If you correctly guess the quote and the topic, you each get 100 points. If you only get one or the other, I receive the 50 points for what you missed. Sound good, team?
Sounds
Good.
incredible.
All right, Ryan's on board as well. Here are your 2 quotes. Whenever I need motivation or I need to get some fire on the court, I remember that I'm free in the universe and I can do whatever I want to do. Or, this is a dream come true. Growing up, I either wanted to be a secret agent or an NBA player, but I'll gladly take this over a badge and a gun.
Okay.
Which is a real quote, which is the fake one.
Oh, man. How specific.
Yeah. Ryan, does any of those strike you as like a draft night quote from somebody taken really big?
Not that I can recall. Like, the second one is so specific. The first one sounds like something that, like, Ron Artest would say in his later days,
Yes.
meta world peace, or like someone like that with a really holistic mindset. But like, so it makes so much sense. But then my mind's like, it make too much sense, you know?
Yeah. Because I guess these quotes either would go to someone like that or like a young kid. The second quote's like a young kid that just got drafted. This is a dream. The other quote does not seem like a Scoot Henderson quote from just getting draft night. You know what I mean?
I don't think Brandon Miller's busting that one out.
Paul George's my favorite player, but I
Okay.
could have had a badge and a gun.
That was where I was going with this. So
Definitely wasn't
probably
him.
not
There's no way
Brandon
it was
Miller.
Brandon Miller.
Little shot.
For sure.
Well, I mean, no chance.
no.
I don't know. I think the first one's the real quote. I just don't know who said it.
Can we hear it one more time, Michael?
Yeah, let me read those again for you. Whenever I need motivation or I need to get some fire on the court, I remember that I'm free in the universe and I can do whatever I want to do. Or, this is a dream come true. Growing up, I either wanted to be a secret agent or an NBA player, but I'll gladly take this over a badge and a gun.
I gotta be honest, they both sound like Bill Walton quotes. They both do.
I'm gonna let you know that all of these, if whichever one is real and whichever one I made up, they're all recent, like within the past few days. The real ones are all recent within the past few days.
The fake ones, obviously.
Yes, I made the fake ones today.
Being free in the universe, I don't think anyone is. Oh. There is someone who is fully enlightened, and that is Victor Wembanyama.
Oh.
I think the first quote is the correct one, and I think it's Victor Wembanyama.
That's
I've seen
He's
someone speak
full-
on JJ Redick, yeah.
He's fully enlightened, dog.
I mean, he's ready to do it. I mean, I'm gonna like it. I like it.
Let's get an
Okay,
answer.
yeah.
I think we go for it.
Ryan's with it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Cool.
guys are with it?
Yeah.
Final answer being the
Victor
A is
and
real
A.
and it's Victor Wembanyama talking? Well, I'd like to tell you that you are correct. Well done, Bob. Yes. That is
Nice.
a Victor Wembanyama quote.
Hell yeah.
He said exactly that. He went on this kind of, JJ kind of asked him, how do you, have you seen the movie Inception? In that movie, they have a totem that like grounds them to reality. What's your totem? And he's like, I don't really have one of those. I just remember that like I'm free in the universe. And he kind of went on this went on this little monologue for like 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And when he was done, everybody in the room was like, "What the?" Like that's so well said. You're 19. How'd you do this? So,
I
all
think
right.
they said the word enlightened also.
Yeah,
They said
yeah,
that. They said the
enlightened.
exact same
I
thing,
think
yeah.
you're right.
Full blown. You said that, and I was like, "There's no one in this draft that's." Oh wait, it's the only one that's ever
He's
been
so
that
high.
way.
He's closer to the heavens. That's why he's so.
Mm.
It's official. The San Antonio Spurs selected French phenom and physical freak Victor Wembanyama, #1 overall in Thursday night's draft. We're going to talk plenty about the overall draft in a moment here with Ryan, and we've talked at length about Victor before on the show. So Ryan, I'm curious, what are your expectations for Victor Wembanyama?
I think they're high. Like they're high as everybody else. I think the standard he's going to be held to is going to be unfair. Like obviously Hall of Fame or whatever, champion, MVP, etc. But people are saying like, oh, if he's not as good as LeBron as in his career,
Yeah.
then everything's a failure. I'm like, that's not true. That's not a fair standard. No one can live up to that standard. Or
Sure.
maybe he can, right? But he's going to be good. I think people don't realize the defensive impact he's going to have, where he might not score 25 points a game in his rookie year, like everyone wants to see. But as long as he's playing on the court, like he's going to be a top 3 defensive player in the league next year, most likely. So
Yeah. So you're not on board with the whole if he isn't, Kevin Durant or all these guys that he's a failure. You don't agree with that?
no, I just like if he comes out with 2 defensive player of the years, like no MVPs and like a title and like a Hall of Fame career, like that's a successful career even
Sure.
by his standards. I think that's fair. I just don't think it's like fair to hold him to standards of Kevin Durant times Giannis and LeBron combined. Like it's just ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
what is he supposed to do? But I don't know. It's hard to find a happy medium with him because he can definitely outperform anybody. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, we talked about Wemby nearly a year ago, and the big question mark was always health. And while, it still might be a question mark for him just because of his frame, I'm a little less worried about it now. And I guess I'll ask you if you think this makes sense, because someone said, well, look at Kevin Durant. He had 2 catastrophic injuries in his 30s, and he towards the middle of his prime, and then came back to be a statistically better player than he was before he was hurt. That made me realize that even if Victor does get hurt, which he most likely will at some point, obviously we're not hoping for that, but it's just likely, he's going to be around for a long time. Like, are you concerned as much as a lot of other people are about the health?
No, I'm definitely not. The biggest thing I point to is injury. People talk about being injury prone, right?
Mhm.
Oh, you're built like that way. You're injury prone. I'm like, no. Bol can be injury prone, or someone else can be injury prone, but he has no history of this. And just because he's built like you've never seen before doesn't mean that you should be uncomfortable to a point where you don't think it's going to be okay. He, like I said, no history of injuries and bad injuries, especially, and re-injury. I think is a huge thing, like we see with Dariq Whitehead. AJ Griffin has that issue and stuff like that. Lonzo Ball, but he also takes care of his body a lot. You see him warm up with a lot of plyometrics, a lot of really unique stretches. He comes out barefoot actually if you watch him before a game, to do his whole routine, whatever. And because he understands that to take care of his very unique body, he has to one, bulk up obviously a little bit, but two, do these kinds of things. And I think when Chet Holmgren comes back this year and like he's a rookie, quote unquote,
Sure.
like contending for rookie of the year, people are going to be like, I think Victor's going to be okay.
Good.
So.
Awesome. Oh, well, I think we're all glad to hear that. I think we're all kind of rooting for. I'm excited about Victor. I can't wait. Justin and I were talking about how they're going to do the opening night games and like what's the matchup going to be. And I think if they're smart, they go Lakers versus Spurs in Game 1.
Oh yeah,
because I want to see the old guard kind of passing of the torch to the new. Well, but we'll see if that happens. So, all right, guys, good job. 100 points to you. On to question 2 now. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would you want this guy? He's been a snake in your boot for almost a decade, and now you invite the snake into your bed? I mean, good for the snake, but bad for you. Or, he's going to average 23 points a game, have a lot of dribbling exhibitions, and the fans will love him. They won't win, but he'll do his thing, and he'll have fun, and the fans will love him. Those are your 2 quotes.
Ooh. So the first one obviously could have been said by, Woody. And
somebody poison the water hole.
So I believe, obviously, one of these quotes is fake, but they're surrounding the Jordan Poole, Chris Paul situation, right? Snake in your boot being Chris Paul to the Warriors. The fans are going to love him in Washington, and they're not going to win a bunch of games. Rough. But I lean more towards the second one being a real quote from, like, one of the personalities on a national television, right? I don't think it's a player not a Skip Bayless because he's negative about everything, but like a Nick Wright,
Love your head.
The idea that there's a snake
idea.
in your boot
should be all that you need to know.
Let's get an
Ryan,
answer.
what do you think?
That the first quote is so out there that like no player or personnel that's not anonymous would say that about someone else. They can't. So like you said, like Nick Wright probably would say some stupid stuff like that. I don't know that I was thinking exactly the same thing about the second one with Jordan Poole. He'll average 23 a game, but you're not going to win many games. So like, and we were talking about the fans before.
Yeah.
The Jordan Poole extras on the side. Fans will love him.
There you go. If you know, you
That's
know.
what I thought about, but I don't know who would say that, but I mean, anyone could say that, to be completely honest. That could be literally anyone.
I just remember something about a snake or snake in the boot quote recently.
Oh, really?
Specifically. Yeah.
Oh.
And so that's why I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's the first one, actually.
Oh, no.
We would have heard about this, I feel like, if someone like, really out there said that. Like a whole quote.
Now, keep in mind, like you mentioned, it can be an analyst like a Nick Wright or somebody.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
I don't watch Nick Wright ever. Literally ever. So.
God, never.
And I
can we
hear
get-
that.
Can we
That
hear
is the best
snake
show
in
on
the boot one more
the
time?
national shows.
Yeah, so the quote is, it just doesn't make any sense. Why would you want this guy? He's been a snake in your boot for almost a decade, and now you invite the snake into your bed? I mean, good for the snake, but bad for you. Or, he's going to average 23 points per game, have a lot of dribbling exhibitions, and the fans will love him. They won't win, but he'll do his thing, and he'll have fun, and the fans will love him.
It's like an international. It's like yoke. Like I don't know, man. Like that quote is so strange. It could
Snake
come.
in the boot?
It could come from a Luka or a Jokic. You know
Snake
what I
in the
mean?
boot is either said by Kendrick Perkins, and we would have heard about it everywhere.
All right.
Perkins
And
is the guy.
and I didn't hear anything about that. I would lean towards the second one being correct and having
I think like Stephen A. or something like that would say that. Like that, the second one is an okay thing on TV, I think.
Yeah, right. And obviously Kenneth Ferguson has been breathing on mics forever, but I would say it's either Nick Wright or a Chris Broussard. That's where my feelings at.
Form it,
Let's get an
answer
answer.
it, go for it.
It's the second one, and it's
It doesn't. You don't have to tell me who. Just tell me what's it about.
it's about Jordan Poole, the Wizard. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that is correct.
Yes! Oh, thank God.
I was hoping that you would you'd big brain yourselves like that's so weird. Is it real? But didn't get you. In one of the most bizarre trades in recent memory, the Golden State Warriors acquired veteran point guard Chris Paul from the Wizards in a move that saw Jordan Poole head to a quickly crumbling franchise in Washington. We'll start with our resident Warriors fan. Thoughts on the Chris Paul acquisition for the Dubs?
Michael, I'm really glad that you asked me because I've had
a great question.
It's a phenomenal question.
Thank you.
I've had a whole week to think about it now. I've had time to process the emotions, move through my personal. I mean, we're talking the full steps of
Grief. You're grieving.
a full-blown grief. And ultimately, I came back to it. And there's 2 points of views that you can go from this. It's if you're a Warriors fan and if you're the Warriors fan base, zoom out a little bit. You just traded Jordan Poole for a Hall of Fame level Jordan Poole. You may have gotten somebody that could be a replacement for the back end of the non-Steph minutes, which is a much better Jordan Poole.
Okay.
Which is phenomenal.
So he doesn't start, is what you're saying.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Do your thing. Go off.
So while the Warriors and what we saw from last year from Chris Paul, someone who traditionally does Chris Paul things, and we know he's efficient as a playmaker, low assist to turnover ratio. Those were his worst categories last season. Statistically, he was the worst in his seasons then doing Chris Paul things because Chris Paul is now more of a spot-up shooter. He actually had the second best three-point percentage of any of his seasons last season. He also had a terrible pull-up three-point shot percentage, worst of his career, but that's fine. So it even more tells us he's kind of preferring to be a spot-up shooter and later in his career.
Okay.
And he's proving it too. With that being said, pairing that with Klay Thompson, who we've talked about ad nauseum before about what he's lost post-injury, it's athleticism and it's a little bit of a defensive prowess. So what is he? He's a spot-up fucking shooter. So now the Warriors have incorporated effectively 2 future Hall of Famers that are spot-up shooters around Steph Curry, who we all know prefers the ball in his hands. He doesn't like to be the off guard. He doesn't like to be receiving these passes. He likes to be the one creating or taking the pull-up, and that's where the Warriors have had success. So ultimately, I'm okay with it. I think it's a great thing, ultimately, for the Warriors. You are bringing on a contract that isn't necessarily incredible, but you can rework it. Like, there's other things you can go about. And Chris Paul does really well in pick-and-roll situations. CP3 last season, he had the 5th most receiving pick-and-roll ball screens. Eclipsed Steph Curry by almost 900 possessions. So if they're really serious about going towards this future with Chris Paul, like they can rock a pick and roll with Kevon Looney, 3-time NBA champion, I should say, Kevon Looney, and really take it into a different angle of the Warriors offense that is worth exploring because, hey, you need to do something else. And that clears up the cap space. And now Draymond, Klay, and the gang can re-sign and we can continue this thing. And we still have Chris Paul and Draymond working together. I see it being a positive.
Okay, so, all right, that's an optimistic take, and I don't want to stay too long on one topic here, but just quickly, the Warriors don't run high pick and rolls like Chris Paul wants to, so it's kind of a mismatch piece there, don't you think? Does that make you worried at all?
Not at all, because Kevon Looney's 25, 26 years old. If you turn him into that pick and roll, if you turn him into a DeAndre Ayton, you're looking at 2 guys that are lengthier that can get rebounds. They're not the same player because DeAndre Ayton is not a 3-time NBA champion. So, yeah, Chris Paul upgraded his pick and roll partner, and he has Steph Curry as well. Like, it's ultimately a win-win for everyone, and Chris Paul can keep his family, in LA and stuff, and he doesn't have to go too far up to San Francisco. So
Okay.
ultimately, I think it's a huge win.
What's the Wizards side of this, Justin? Can you explain what the hell is going on in Washington?
Yes, I think, we talked about, the new Wizards GM just a few weeks ago, and it's a hard reset. They say, you know what? We're getting off with a couple of terrible contracts. While I love Kristaps Porzingis, when you're resetting, you just go, okay, we're just going to clean house, and okay, this is what we're going to look at now, and we're going to completely remove ourselves from the old guard, if you will. When you turn Bradley Beal
Thank God.
and Kristaps into Tyus Jones, Jordan Poole, and what I would actually consider really good first-round pick swaps with the Phoenix Suns, because they're 1 or 2 injuries away from being horrible.
That's fair.
How many pick
West
swaps,
is
by the way?
competitive.
4 pick swaps.
4 pick
and
swaps.
I believe and a first-round pick from you guys, and then I think 6 second-round picks, 4 or 6, one of the two. And we see what second-round picks can become, a la Nikola Jokic. So they can become that.
You're also using the greatest second-round pick ever.
They
so.
can become that. And so, I think it's overall good because it's a reset. Now, are we going to be good next year?
Wow.
No, unless. But we'll talk about it later. But we could be good in the next 3 years, and I think that's the way to build. We see so many teams starting to push together people, and like, oh, this is gonna work. This is gonna work, and we're like, no.
Okay.
Here we go. Wes Unseld Jr. Here's your young pieces.
Yeah, it makes sense. Ryan, thoughts on this deal, real quick? Well, take your time, however much time you'd like.
I'll tell you another 40. Don't worry about it. I think if we'll never know. Maybe we will through his volume podcast. But if Draymond comes out and says, "Hey, I wasn't coming back if Jordan Poole was still in the roster," then no matter how Chris Paul ends up, it's a great move because you need to keep him around or you need to do something. I get that. It's hard because I can't envision the fit in the back row when they're playing together. Chris Paul might come off the bench. He might not. He'll definitely play closing minutes for sure. I like his presence better than Jordan Poole's. I don't think the quote was as accurate, but it's not inaccurate completely. I think there's levels to Jordan Poole in a bad way also. And for the Wizards, it looks bad on paper when they don't get a lot of assets back. But Bradley Beal's on a terrible contract. He had the only rarity, true no trade clause in the entire NBA where he literally decided the package and approved the package.
Yeah.
And Kristaps could have been a free agent. He had to opt into his player option. So considering all those factors, yes, they're a year too late going into the rebuild because this is a great draft class.
Right.
You had a chance to get 1 or 2 maybe generational prospects at the top of the class. And you could have got more assets and begin this all year earlier, and they knew they had to at some point. But in this situation and right now, I think they're doing a decent job, the Wizards. So
Yeah, I agree that the timeline was off. This was the one to shoot for, and they also could have made this move before they gave Bradley Beal that massive contract that held him hostage, and then the Porzingis trade and all that. I get you going to go for it one more time, but I don't know how at any point you think that a combination of Kuzma, Beal, and Porzingis gets you a conference finals run even. I think that stuff in the East, the way it was constructed when they traded for Kristaps, I don't know. I mean, you're talking about the Kevin Durant Nets, Giannis still, the Celtics were there. I don't know how that was the move, and then without seeing the future that is this draft. So we talked about the Chris Paul that I think he's smart enough to fit into this system. I think he's going to make it work somehow. His minutes will be meaningful. Steph Curry got ejected because he threw his mouthpiece out of frustration from a shot that Jordan Poole took. Chris Paul ain't taking that shot. He's smart. He's one of the highest basketball IQ players in the history of the NBA. So I think that is eliminated as well.
Well, he won't be on the floor. He'll be hurt.
But I am nervous about this. Last season, we talked a little bit about how the vibes were off. I remember Kyle telling me, the Warriors are a vibes team. When they're clicking, they can beat anybody because it's just swinging the ball and shooting and turning around and night and all that shit, right? Well, the vibes were off because of the Draymond Poole incident, right? So I've got an idea. Let's bring in a guy that's been one of your biggest rivals the entire duration of your dynasty. There's an interview from Draymond in 2020 where he plainly says, quote, "I do not like Chris Paul. We do not get along. I respect him basketball-wise, but we aren't on good terms." So now Draymond opts out, you go get Chris Paul, and yeah, they can make it work, but weren't we just talking about, well, they're fine now. Jordan Poole and Draymond are fine now. They made it work. They squashed it. The same thing happened in 19, Kevin Durant. What happened that year? They flamed out in the playoffs. Well, granted injury, but still, vibes were off, right? Yep. Every time that the vibes are good, and I just don't know that 3-4 months ago, Steph Curry gets a layup on Chris Paul and says, "This ain't 2014 no more." Mm-hmm. And Mike Dunleavy goes, "That's the guy we need. Got it.
Yes,
Got it.
Oh, Bob Myers leaves and you make
Got
bad
him.
choices?
Yeah. So
What
I don't
are their
know.
options though. Like where else? I don't know where else they had to go.
I
Yeah.
agree.
From the team,
I
had to make a
agree.
change.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't know that there was a lot to offer for Poole, like to go get Poole, to get rid of Poole, and also a comparable player that can help you win now. I agree with that, but I don't know. Like, I don't have that alternative, but it's still just kind of a head scratcher for me. I do have a question for you, Ryan. What can you tell me about the Warriors' 2 draft picks, and do you like those fits?
I'll start at the back end because Trace is a perfect fit. I understand the slide, and you see like
note card.
Oscar fell, Drew Timmy didn't get drafted, Adama Sanogo, all these college bigs, they don't get drafted. Trace has a particular skill set that is much more well suited for the NBA than the other guys. I think his ability to play, make and be comfortable on the ball. He's not going to step out and shoot really ever, but his ability to be in transition. I think on the Warriors with an undersized big like Kevon Looney, they can easily turn him into maybe not the same kind of player, but in terms of impact and level, I think they could do that. I think he's going to be in the rotation probably very early. And then Brandon Podzimski, I was so convinced they were going Jaime Jaquez or Podzimski. If Jaime was on the board, they go him. I didn't know it obviously didn't have the opportunity, but he's going to be good too. Like I think them going a different route than what they normally do. They usually go Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, James Wiseman,
High upside guys.
And we will develop the young guys. And this year they were like, all right, we don't really have that time anymore. And as a couple of those guys could be still good, we don't even know about Kuminga, and Moody has been kind of hot and cold at times. They're going with a more short thing. He's only played 2 years in college, but he's experienced, high usage. Like he knows what he's doing. So they'll both be really good picks. And I'd have full faith in the Warriors front office and staff. So
I believe it. I trust you. What do you got?
Yeah, 30 seconds
Quickly.
on him. Love Trace Jackson Davis. Like watching Indiana, dude's third in points of all time, first in rebounds, first in blocks. He's well known to be the undersized guy that outworked other 4s and 5s in his conference. Big Ten Freshman of the Year. Like this is a guy who absolutely, like I knew as soon as they drafted him, I was like, wait, that's the guy from. Oh yeah, that's that guy. And it was like, okay, he's awesome. And then of course Brandon, very very tenacious. Like stretch guard, but he plays a forward. But I kind of see him playing in like a LaMelo area where it could be a point guard area. Josh Hart level of rebounding, smooth stroke, great shot. I'm a big fan of who the Warriors drafted. Yeah.
Good. Glad to hear it. All right, we got one more question too. Then we're going to have some conversations about the draft we've been talking about already. Here are your 2 quotes. Sometimes people grow up when they have a kid. You might not be ready for it, but you have to grow up. Necessity is the mother of invention. Isn't that what people say? This adds a level of necessity that will force them to figure it out. Or, you know that pair of shoes that you bought once and you loved them so much that you wore them constantly and wore them out so bad you had to buy another pair because they just fit so well? That's the kind of fit we're talking about here. Those are your 2 options.
Give you the first one again. I'm sorry.
I got you.
Yeah.
First one. Sometimes people grow up when they have a kid. You might not be ready for it, but you have to grow up. Necessity is the mother of invention. Isn't that what people say? This adds a level of necessity that will force them to figure it out. Do you want the second one as well?
Kinda.
Okay. Or, you know that pair of shoes that you bought once and you loved them so much that you wore them constantly and wore them out so bad you had to buy another pair because they just fit so well? That's the kind of fit we're talking about here.
That one makes so much more sense for a draft pick that like
Totally.
they had an old guy and like we just gotta like fill in the gap kind of thing behind him and like backfill. But
So, I do feel like the second quote with the shoes could be like a Scoot Henderson, a 6'2" guard. It's the same kind of shoes you've already bought. You feel comfortable with a short guard with Damian Lillard, so you did it again. But also, I feel like the first quote could be the Phoenix Suns trading for Bradley Beal. You've gotten rid of your safety net with Chris Paul, who is going to really dish out things. But also, I guess that could be the same shoe because he is just poor man's Devin Booker.
Gonna need an answer kind of quickly on this one.
Let's do shoe scoot.
Shoes and Scoot?
sure, yeah.
Shoes and Scoot.
So you're going with the second quote is the real one?
Yeah,
And they're talking about Scoot Henderson?
sure.
Finally, some points.
Yeah.
No, Ryan wouldn't know it, but this is a Nick Wright quote. A is correct. Sometimes people grow up when they have a kid. You might not be ready for it, but you have to grow up. Necessity is the mother of invention. Isn't that what people say? This adds a level of necessity that will force them to figure out. And he is talking about Kristaps Porzingis being traded to the Celtics. Yeah, I know. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but so we won't spend too long on this one. But the Boston Celtics acquired Kristaps Porzingis and 2 first-round picks after their second attempt in a 3-team deal that sent Marcus Smart to Memphis and Tyus Jones to Washington. Bob, who won this trade, and what do you make of the Celtics' title hopes now?
Boston PD. You're
Give
getting
me a Kristaps.
Give me a Kristaps. Put your Porzingis on the floor. 65 games played last season. It's the second highest that he's played so far in his young 7-season career.
I don't know.
He averaged 23 points, 8.4 rebounds, and 3 assists while shooting 50% from the field and 38% from the 3. Listen, they made a pivot from Brogdon to Marcus Smart. Listen, I know we'll get to that eventually. But they ended up keeping Brogdon, who's a better facilitator for now, and ended up adding a trending upwards former all-star, someone who's, they sacrificed depth, sure, potentially, but they got another shot maker. They can release some stress from JB and JT. They can stretch the floor a little bit longer. Yes. Is he a great defender? Maybe not, but he's a great rebounder. Yes, he's long and he can do that. So yeah, switchable. He's awesome, and he's better suited. And that defense now is better suited for a Bucks or a Nuggets.
Agreed. Justin, what you got?
Well, outside
Who
of
won
my
the trade?
Wizards fandom, we didn't win the trade.
Yeah, no shit.
Necessarily. I don't hate Tyus Jones, and we had to do what we had to do because we were going to leave. Kristaps was going to leave without giving us anything back. I will say I do think maybe the Memphis Grizzlies won this one. From a standpoint where they get Marcus Smart, that quote unquote, a veteran presence in the room, they are going to miss their starting point guard for the first 25 games. So you do get a Band-Aid on that and maybe a Band-Aid on your veteran presence while giving up potentially your future with Tyus Jones a little. I say giving up your future, but giving up, future potential in him. But I do think Marcus Smart fits well and can play a little bit more half-court offense, which is one of their biggest kind of detriments generally in the Memphis Grizzlies organization the past couple of years. So I do think having him around, they're going to be defensively awesome. Like the back-to-back
defense player
of the years. So I think the Grizzlies won overall, even though I'm really high on KP, and I do think the Celtics still. I mean, it's like this. It's not like
Ryan, what you got on this one?
Yeah, I think the Grizzlies, to a point where they've been a really good regular season team, not a good playoff team. I think this kind of balances it out a little more for them, I will say, because I think Tyus is great for them winning regular season games.
Yes.
You haven't seen them be able to win playoff games and him make that impact yet. It's hard. I don't know how the Celtics, the best team in there, got the best player, got the best draft pick out of everything by giving up Marcus Smart, Muscala, and Gallinari. I just don't I think the Grizzlies were involved, and then the Celtics were like, we need a first-round pick this year, so we need your 25 because we want to make a pick for someone specific. And they're like, just take it also, whatever. Yeah. So that's why it even looks even worse. So the Celtics are the big W, but the Grizzlies, if they can have any playoff success this year, more than they've had in the last couple of years, then it was a win for them. They don't need to worry about how it impacted other teams. At first I was like, oh my God, Celtics had a huge win the whole entire time, but I kind of see the Grizzlies side too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like the move a lot for Boston. They added another shooter and a terrific interior defender in Kristaps. He's the third highest at the rim defender. He has, over the course of his career, he has one of the highest block rates in the league. Mazzulla proved that he has little interest in being a grit and grind style of defensive coach, and the Celtics being that kind of defensive team. And this will make it easier now because you got great defenders at each level. I mean, Brown and Tatum are terrific perimeter defenders, and then obviously you're going to have Horford or Robert Williams, thank you, Kristaps Porzingis, and then all those guys, at the rim. So they're going to have layers of these the defenders, which means they can kind of fly around and be a little bit more frantic instead of this organized defensive unit that maybe Brad Stevens' Celtics were. I don't really like the move for Memphis. Tyus Jones is one of the best backup point guards in the league, and yes, you make a good point there, Ryan, that he doesn't necessarily give you much in the postseason. But they have a 25-game gap where they have to be legit because they got off to a great start last year, and then it's an easy example, but the Lakers got off to a terrible start last year, and then they were fighting for a play-in spot. Come April, it wasn't even determined that they were even going to make the playoffs. And like Marcus Smart is a brilliant defender, and they are going to be a good defensive team. But Tyus Jones brings this level of offense and good basketball IQ that they have without Ja Morant that I think that is going to be missed with Marcus Smart. He's a veteran. He's been around. He's a play hard guy, but I just don't know that. I don't know that they needed to hammer in on defense. Like, it feels like they added Dylan Brooks Pro, like they added like Dylan Brooks Pro Max. I don't know. Like, I just personally, I'm not a fan of the fit. Like, of course he's going to fit in the culture, but I think they needed a guy that was like going to bring some levity and some balance to this team. And I don't know that they have that with Marcus Smart.
Had a little too much levity.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's get to Bob's Buckets.
It's time for Bob's Buckets.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Thank you all for joining me as always. Evil NCAA Bob's Buckets incoming here. Of course, we have Ryan Hammer on the pod, so of course we're going to talk draft things. But let's talk about the top 10 players drafted in the 2023 draft.
Okay.
Half of them chose an alternative to college or an alternative traditional path. Of course, 2 were international. Of course, we know with Bilal and Victor. But I just want to open up the conversation, gentlemen. If half of the top 10 don't go to college, what does the NCAA miss out on? Now, let me rewind the clock a little bit. 2001, Kwame Brown, all the way up until 2006 with Andrea Bargnani. We saw these drafted right out of high school, no college experience players, and we saw 5 out of the 6 years the number 1 overall pick skipped college. And I put skipped in quotes. Well, that didn't happen after that period of time. So the NCAA got involved. And then, of course, you had to spend 1 year in college. I just see I just see what's happening here where, hey, if half of the top 10 didn't go to college, how much did the NCAA miss out on? And I think, much like we saw how we no longer can see players drafted right out of high school, this is a system that was implemented very recently, and I just don't see it. I question how much longer it's going to be around because someone's missing out on money, and we think we know who it is.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a CBA thing, isn't it? Isn't this an NBA rule that they can't go you can't be drafted unless you're 19? Isn't that it?
You got to turn 19 in the calendar year that next season starts.
Okay, I gotcha. So yeah, I mean, and then there have been conversations. We talked about this on the show at one point a few months ago that Adam Silver's starting the conversation again. But I like that they're skipping college. No, I mean, and I just don't. I think that a lot of this is my personal opinion. I think Ryan, we've discussed this. I'm personally like so anti-college basketball. I just am not a fan of it, just because I'm cover the league and such an obsessive about the NBA that I think that like you get the best players in some of better, at least a touch of better competition. I'm a fan of them skipping, personally.
Can you guys tell me the one player who did go to college out of those 6 years? 2005, number 1 overall pick.
2005, definitely not. I can't.
Yeah. 2005.
Andrew Bogut.
Of course, my main man.
My man.
It's
All right.
That's a weird one because you can't like dictate that foreign players go to an American college in the NCAA to then go to the league. So they're still going to have that. And is that an advantage over the American players who maybe don't get to go play professional? They have to play in the college circuit. So like, how do you dictate that?
They could do the same thing.
But yeah, but like also, how do you dictate? Because competition in the NCAA can be great, but it also, because it's so vast, it's so many colleges that it can kind of be watered down for certain players.
And also leaves the room for parody and BS. So,
Are you Ryan? Are you in favor of leaving it as is, or what do you like to see?
I'm a fan of all the different paths to the league. Like, I'm a huge college basketball fan. I'm also like a draft, like evaluator or whatever. So I appreciate all the paths to the league. Like all of them, even OT. I have a lot of things to say about OT. I'm not going to do that here. But I just think
I'm
it's
curious.
tough. It's really, I mean, we can do that all day.
I'd seen some tweets about it. Give me a quick rundown on it.
I'll tell you that my issue with OT is obviously it's from Overtime. It's a social media company originally. And I don't think that the gameplay is ever going to be. It's not. They're trying to get clicks and engagement, and that's going to turn on revenue for them. I understand that for ad revenue and everything else in media space. But the gameplay is not serious enough to ever become like a real developmental league, and that's what they want it to be. The Thompson twins are like complete outliers because
Yeah.
they were older, they're better, they were always going to be like no matter where they went, they were always going to be lottery picks in the last 3 years. Like they've been everyone's known them before they got to OTE in the scouts world and stuff like that. But OTE is just like they're going about the wrong way to get to the result that they want to get to. That's kind of my issue with them, and a lot of their players are realizing that. So like they have guys going to the NBL, to G League Ignite, and then going to the draft the year after. It's like a lot of them are leaving OT after being there for a year because they're starting to see different paths that actually going to get them to the league and drafted, because the other guys that aren't top tier prospects just don't get drafted out of the OT. So
I mean, Scoot is probably the biggest guy, the biggest name at least to get, or maybe even the highest pick to go from a G League team. Am I right?
Jalen Green went too.
Oh, Jalen Green. Okay, yeah.
And I actually love Ignite, especially for top tier prospects,
Sure.
because I think it really suits you for your path to the league. NBA spacing,
Yeah.
you're playing against NBA athletes, big dudes, like physicality, the pace of the game. So the number 2, he's the number 1 or 2, and the number 5 recruiter going there this year. And
Okay.
that's going to be, I think this is where we really see that you guys are talking about how it impacts college basketball, because the NIL money, the transfer portal is keeping a lot of guys in, like Zach Edey, the National Player of the Year, returns. Granted, he's not built for the NBA. Oscar Tshiebwe 2 years ago, National Player of the Year, returns. Same kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I think that's keeping the game with stars being there 3, 4, 5, even 6, 7 years at this point.
Yeah.
With COVID year, but that's helping them a lot. But the freshman talent is taking a hit, so they're like, why am I going to go try to outwork guys that are in college for 5 or 6 years?
Sure.
But I can
Yep.
go to the NBL or Ignite or whatever and go there for a year and go to the league. So this year with both those guys, and like honestly, it's like 8 prospects that could get drafted. They won't all playing for Ignite at the same time. This is going to be the year where we see, does it actually affect college basketball with a weaker freshman class? So
Interesting.
Perfect.
Well, that's
Yeah.
perfect. That's perfectly put. Thank you for breaking it down, explaining it like I'm 5, because I have no knowledge of that kind of stuff. Once they get to the league, I'm like, all right, now I'm paying attention. Okay, let's get to the curiosity corner. Welcome to the curiosity corner. It's the place where we ask and answer the questions that I'm just curious about. We've got Ryan here with us, which means we're going to talk all things draft. Ryan, we'll start simple. Should Scoot have gone number 2 overall?
yes, I thought you were going to say he's going number 3. Yeah, he definitely should have. And I won't go crazy about it because there's not much more to it. He's a better prospect. The Hornets, whether you think Miller or Scoot fit better or not, I don't really think it's a massive difference. You don't draft for fit when you win 27 games the year before.
Thank you.
So yeah.
I have a vendetta against the Hornets, and I said this like 17 times before the draft happened. Stupid franchises worry about fit when you've got a kind of like generational player like the Kings passing on Luka because it's like, oh, we've got guards. You take Luka Doncic and also take Scoot Henderson. So, what do you think the plan is for the Blazers now?
I mean, they met with Dame today. Apparently, we'll probably find out tomorrow or
Sure.
2 days what that came. To be honest, they've done this before. It's going to be like, all right, Dame, we're good with Dame. We're going to try to win now, but we're still build the future. Everyone's on board. It's going to be BS. But I think that they're just going to keep doing what they've been doing, which actually is, I think they should trade out and just rebuild, focus on Simon, Sharp, like their whole core.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like having Dame there helps them a lot for Scoot to learn, for Shaden Sharp to learn and not be pushed into 30 minutes a game when you're 18, 19 years old, I think is very valuable. We've seen it in every sport, the NFL with quarterbacks. And so it's a weird thing to compare it to, but Patrick Mahomes sitting for an entire year, Lamar Jackson sitting for half his rookie year,
Mhm.
and then being able to like after processing and stuff like that. I think they're actually doing a good job. They had 3 pretty strong draft picks. I thought they were a big winner of the draft. And they're just going to keep doing what they're doing, make their picks as they can. They'll try to keep Dame around if they can. And if he wants to leave, they'll let him leave, I think. And I actually think that's the right move.
Okay. What team do you think had the best draft?
Outside of the Spurs, because like
Duh.
they couldn't really do much wrong.
Right.
I thought the Rockets had a pretty easy and
Mhm.
very successful
Oh,
draft
yeah.
because Cam had 20, and I understand why Cam dropped. I understand these things, but
Which
when
that was
you're-
another question of mine. Can you explain why he slid to 20?
I don't know the exact extent of it. I recall some of it. It's a medical report thing, so they all go through like medical testing and all these different results and whatever numbers to make basically so teams can be like, all right, we're good. Like make sure nothing's gonna down the line screw
Right.
us. He has some kind of like extra cartilage in his knee or something like that
Mm.
that doctors were worried that could be a long-term issue. I'm like, that's crazy. Like how many times have we done this in with prospects and they end up being huge steals? Did it with AJ Griffin last year too, where he to be fair, he tore his ACL twice, so I understand that part. But like, he still ended up being a steal at his value, and I think Kane will be the same thing. So the Rockets are an easy one. Like, it kind of is what it is. I love the Jazz, and I mentioned the Blazers too.
Right. Who do you think had the worst draft outside of the Sixers and Knicks, who didn't even make a pick? Right.
And Knicks should have the Sixers did really well in the undrafted market actually, but the Knicks, like, they should have traded them for a pick. It's the last time before the new CBA that you can buy a pick for basically nothing. So I really thought they could have had a cheap contract on the books. But teams who actually drafted, the Magic were tough. Like, I love Anthony Black, like the pick at 6. I don't care that they have too many guards. I like Anthony Black. Jett Howard is not the best wing shooter in the draft. You could have taken Jordan Hawkins. You could have taken Grady Dick, who are both going to be better, in my opinion. They're loading up on Michigan guys. They have 4 Michigan guys in the roster now, which for what reason, I don't know. Exactly. And then they traded pick 36 for the Bucks 2030 second rounder and cash, which is insane to me. Like, that is basically trading away in this draft, especially. It's a late first rounder in terms of value. You're trading a late first rounder for nothing. And they drafted Andre Jackson with the Bucks, who's, I promise you, is going to contend to be an all rookie team, and he's going to help them try to win a title. So the Magic are wrong. That was
well
the worst part
done.
I just got heated, but like, I don't care if the first 2 picks. Trading 36
Thank
away
you.
is the worst
No,
part.
thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy kind of how the tables turned for the Magic, who I don't remember the odds that they had going into the lottery, but they were one of the teams that it was like, me personally, I was like, oh, Paolo and Franz and Victor would be spicy. And then, yeah, like you're saying, they had one of the worst drafts. What was the biggest surprise?
Biggest surprise, the Cam Whitmore slide was surprising. Jett Howard going at 11 was relatively surprised. I was surprised the Wizards actually went with Bilal. I heard rumors about it. I thought he was going 9 actually to Utah, and he might have, but even that was a stretch. So I'm happy they went with him. I think it's a lot of upside, a lot of tools to play with there. But that was a big one. And then Terquavion Smith going undrafted, and he might not be a name you guys know very well, but
not at all.
He was last year. He came NC State combo guard, super really good scorer. He was a late first rounder last year, decided to come back to school for whatever reason, was never going to improve his stock past that, especially in this class. And he went undrafted, so it sucks.
Damn. And now has anybody, did somebody pick him up?
The Sixers got him right away, which I thought was awesome. So.
Okay, good. Okay, finish this sentence. This draft class is the strongest draft class since...
Don't say
2021.
Okay.
Like, that's the Franz, not Paulo. The whole class. Franz, I'm drawing a blank. Jalen Green, Cade. I love that class. So.
Yeah. Okay. If you had a free $10,000 bet to put on Rookie of the Year, who are you taking?
$10,000. It's free. I'm going with the safe pick. But if I had to go outside of that, I think Jarris Walker's going to have a huge impact on day one. I think Keontae George in Utah too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't really about the draft, but after the breaking news today, I can't ask you all these questions without asking you about your Atlanta Hawks. Woj reported today that Atlanta is sending John Collins to Utah in exchange for Rudy Gay, who immediately opted in, and a second-round pick. Woj also reported that the Hawks are, quote, in deal-making mode and could go into the luxury tax for the right upgrades this offseason. What do you think about this whole thing?
We can cuss, right? We can cuss on it?
Absolutely. Do whatever you need to.
They fucking better go into the luxury tax. This has been my problem with the ownership for 3 years. Yeah. Do you have like a want?
I don't, but I can do a.
Wow. Golly, that's crazy.
You can do the Draymond golly. That's crazy.
Yeah. That's the problem. They haven't wanted to pay the luxury tax forever.
Yeah.
You're never gonna win a title if you don't want to go in to get the right player.
Of course.
I just don't know who's going to come on the market. Is Zion going to come available? Is it going to be Cat? Who's it going to be? Like, if it is, then that's great if they get that done. Otherwise, they got nothing back with John Collins. I understand why they did it for financial flexibility going to the CBA. It still makes no sense. It's still, I don't care. There had to be some more value for him, or better off keeping it. There had to be something. There had to be.
Did you like the Quinn Snyder hire?
Yeah, I like Quinn Snyder a lot.
Me too. So just like, I guess you kind of mentioned it there, but like, is there a name that would make sense in Atlanta? Because now I'm confused.
Kyle Kuzma.
What?
Sorry. Woof.
Fuck no.
I had a cough there.
A free agent name? No.
God. There's honestly not anyone like Zion and Cat. We need someone in the front court. Like, it can't be a guard. We have DeJounte and Trey, and neither of them are going to be moved right now.
It's
I just don't
Cat.
know. I just don't know if they even listen to trade talks. Like, are they after 1 year really going to be like,
Right.
you know what? we need to recoup some assets. 1 year, like you're really gonna give up that fast?
His
But I
name
don't
is
know.
Nas Reed.
That's
and
what I'm
yes.
saying. Like,
That's true. Nasreen is nice, and he resigned.
Anyway, sorry.
So.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I don't know.
Carl Anthony Towns played 29 games last year. I don't think that they're giving. I don't think that they're giving up. I personally just don't think that they're giving up on the Cat Gobert Ant trade, especially if Ant continues to get better. So.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was the Curiosity Corner, and let's get into our game of the day. It's time for the Free Agent Frenzy. All right, in this game, the three of you will operate as GMs of your very own NBA franchise. Every player in NBA history is a free agent. Each round, there is a rule about the players that you may or may not sign. I will start by signing a player that fits the rule. You will attempt to sign one player that fits the rule of the round. If the player you choose fits the criteria of the round, I will tell you that you may sign the player, giving you information on the rule of the round. If you've listened, you've heard this before. You may only guess during your turn. If you're, you say, hey, can I draft this guy? And if I say yes or no, whatever, then you can go, okay, can I guess? The first person to correctly guess the rule of the round gets 100 points. If none of you guess the rule, then I will receive the points. You only get one guess per round if that's not clear. All right. Being that you're our guest, Ryan, you can start, but I am going to start with Greg Oden.
Oof, God. We will take Jahlil Okafor.
You may take Jahlil Okafor.
Okay.
Bob?
May I draft Victor Wembanyama?
You may not take Victor Wembanyama.
Okay.
May I guess?
You should take a pick first. That's a new rule. New rule. You've
New
got to
rule,
take a
you gotta
player
take
first.
pick, and then, okay, so
Sick of hearing that. I'm just going to guess. Got to take a player first.
May I draft Anthony Bennett?
You may.
Oh, so draft busts.
Yes, of course. Yes. It is
Thank
draft
you,
bus.
thank
We're
you.
starting out easy. All right. We'll go on to question 2 now. So those are worth, what do we say? 100
5
Yep.
each. 5
100
points. 5
points
points.
each?
5
Jeez
points
Louise.
each.
All right, quickly then on to number 2. So Bob, you'll be starting. I'm going to start with Ja Morant.
May I draft Tyrese Halliburton?
Let me double check.
Double
Yeah.
checking.
This round, this game in particular might have a lot of double checking, but I'd rather be right than lie to you. No, you may not take Tyrese Halliburton.
May I draft Kevin Durant?
You may take Kevin Durant.
Okay.
On to you, Ryan.
Oof, God. May I draft Trey Young?
Let me double check real quick. No, you may not draft Trey Young.
May I draft Brandon Miller?
You may draft Brandon Miller.
And I will guess number 2 overall draft picks.
That is correct.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it is. We're starting out easy. Only a few of these to get to, so yes, you are correct. On to round 3.
Okay.
I'm going to start with Kobe Bryant, Justin.
May I draft? May I draft George Hill?
That is such a name. Just a moment. Let me
Okay.
obviously double check.
Yeah, he's king of the.
You may take
Huh.
George Hill. On to you, Ryan.
May I take LeBron James?
You may not take LeBron James.
Okay.
May I take my man, Danny Granger?
I'm gonna double
Ruining my
check.
slogan.
Let me double check here. I'm gonna find out.
Okay.
Oh, a lot of reading on this. Whoa, this is a whole article here.
Wowza. No.
Who was the player we started with? I already forgot.
We started with Kobe
Big try.
Bean Bryant.
Okay, I did remember. Okay.
No.
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 Are you sure?
You may not.
Yeah.
This
may
is-
not.
Now you're you're asking me.
Sorry, I'm just curious. Okay. No, if not, okay.
I mean, I set myself up for failure here. I made these rounds, so
You're
I
good.
can't be
Yeah,
upset with
no
anybody.
worries.
You can't be
Let's see.
curious. This is not the corner anymore. Not the corner.
Let me
Yeah,
just
you're
double
right.
check. I just want to double check. I just want to give you the right answer
It
here.
does sound like triple checking at this point in time.
In quadruple, to be clear.
Quintuplet.
You may not take
Perfect.
Danny Granger.
Okay.
Is that it?
That's it. That's all I got
Oh,
for you.
okay. May I draft? Oh, may I draft my man, Timothy Duncan?
No, you may not take.
No, I will not. Okay.
On to you, Ryan.
May I draft Mikal Bridges?
You may draft Mikal Bridges.
Can I take a guess?
You can guess, and I already
Players
know.
from Philadelphia.
Oh.
Nope.
No, that is
no.
incorrect. On to Bob.
Wow.
May I draft?
What a commonality. Nice find, though.
Damn.
May I draft? Forgive me, I don't know his last name, but he was recently drafted. Victor Wembanyama's teammate Bilal.
Oh, I will double check real quick.
By the way, great name, Bilal.
I don't believe so, but I will double check for you. Oh my God, that's a whole. Why is it not just a Google?
The thing is, if I know the
response?
rules and I go, maybe.
I'm still guessing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I
Ah.
got it.
Yes.
Then I will go ahead and guess.
Yes, you may
Oh.
guess.
Players traded on draft night.
That is correct. Well done. Yes, it is
Wow,
that.
Bridges. Oh my
Yes,
God.
Mikal Bridges.
I really thought
drafted by Philly. His mom worked for the franchise, and then yes, sent.
I didn't know George Hill was from
Packin'.
Philadelphia.
I'm pretty sure Danny Granger was. That's why I was like, oh, brutal. I
If
trust
so,
you.
I
trust
checked
you.
3 articles
I know.
and kind of skimmed,
Yeah,
so
we
it's
waited.
totally possible.
You're
but
totally. I believe you.
You
but-
got points if not. You got points either way, so good. for
Yeah.
you. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
the Philadelphia thing would have been a lot easier to find if I didn't.
Yeah. Boy, where is this player born? Yeah, you're right. Okay. All right, it's back to you, Ryan. You're starting this next one, and I'm going to start with Ben Wallace.
Ooh.
Oof. God.
Mhm.
Can I take Chauncey Billups?
I'm going to double check for you.
Of course, of course.
Of course, yeah. Don't want to
course,
give
of
you any
course.
incorrect information. No, you may not take Chauncey Billups. On to you, Bob.
May I draft Cade Cunningham?
You may not take Cade Cunningham. On to you, Justin.
May I draft Gabe Vincent?
I'm going to double check, but I believe so. You may take Gabe Vincent.
May I guess?
You may guess.
Is this
got it.
undrafted
You
player?
Yes.
got it.
Yes, it is.
You got it.
Yes, it is undrafted players. Well done. All right, on to our 5th and final round. Bob, you'll be starting.
Yep.
I'm going to start with Manu Ginobili. And for the last one, we're going to have some claves in our life. I'm going to start with Manu Ginobili.
May I draft Nikola Jokic?
You may take Nikola Jokic. Go for it. Fire it off. I don't care. Do it. Why would you not want
No,
the
let me
points? You're in a
draft
huge lead.
let me draft
let,
a
let,
player.
let Ryan get another guess.
How
Draft a
about
player.
Play the game.
No.
Play the game.
I want to draft a player.
respect, Ryan?
What are you doing? Are you doing it or not?
Second round draft picks.
That is correct. Of
Man.
course. Yes, yes, yes.
I was gonna
I
draft
was
Tristan
actually gonna
Vucevic.
I was gonna go second round international draft pick. That's
Ooh.
He doesn't. He doesn't get that. That
been
specific. That'd be a rough one.
Yeah, that'd be really hard. They'd get mad at me if I went that specific. So Justin, what do we finish that game with there then?
Bob had 300 points. I had 200 points, and Ryan, I'm not gonna lie to you, had 0 points.
Did I also have 0?
Yeah, you did.
Golly, you guys did really well in this one. There was also, for the first time ever, an overarching theme. It was all draft stuff.
Yeah.
Notable draft bust, number 2 picks, players traded on draft night, undrafted players, and second round picks. So, for the first time ever, I get 0 points on a free agent frenzy. Wait, does that mean I get 0 points in the day?
No,
No.
you have 100 points
No, you got
for
one
the
of the
first
Oh,
game.
I got
Yeah,
one.
we gave you a little
You're so
bit.
negative.
Ooh, got hot there
Hey,
for a
what
second.
do we do with all these points, anyways?
So you know what? We
Okay.
gambled them away, and props to you.
Another exciting
Props to you.
Roll
Addition.
Addition of props to you. Yes, Michael. You have 1,100
I sure do.
big ones. You are betting on Lewis Hamilton
Yes.
to podium at this
Yes.
week's F1 race.
Mercedes has been on a heater. They added those upgrades. Apparently, they're bringing upgrades to Austria. I am going to put all 1,100 points on a Lewis Hamilton podium in the last week of the season, or the month, I'm sorry.
Our season.
Wait, the season of the month,
You know?
to potentially gain 4,400.
I like it. I like it a lot. Bob, you are in first place with 3,550. You've got the Red Sox over the Marlins. How much are you betting, Robert? Roberto?
Kind of thinking like, we'll give him another 500.
Another 500.
Yeah, why not?
You want
Big
baseball
ones.
again?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you went baseball again. I'm staying in basketball. I'm going the
Agreed.
Mystics over the Dream on Wednesday. I'm going to put all my 400 points on them. Because why not? At this point in time, why not? You know what I
Might as
mean?
well.
Who cares?
We will get a pick from Trey, who has
At a certain point,
300
yes.
points from you.
But
before we go, Ryan, are
you do
there
have
any
200 points, so you could leapfrog Trey.
Is there any notable player props you want to take, whether it be WNBA or really anything? I mean, I'm betting now on F1. He bet on golf a couple weeks ago, and baseball now. Anything that you wanna snag for a couple hundred points on the board?
Oh God. Anything?
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah. Take a stab. Justin will look it up real quick.
What's the over-under on
look
anything,
it up
Justin?
real
Look it up.
Over under how many lightning tornadoes in the Kansas Valley?
Oh, actually 65.
I'll
take the
over. Whatever golf tournament is this weekend. I think there's a golf tournament
Travelers.
this weekend.
Yeah, we've got the Travelers this weekend, I think.
You want to make a pick?
Is Matsuyama golfing? I like him.
I believe so. Yeah,
Matsuyama.
that's a pretty easy one. Bovada
I'll
should
take
have Matsuyama.
Off of no context or anything at all. Not a major golf watcher. I am going Matsuyama.
No, I love it. I love
Hideki
it.
is goaded.
He is.
Give me the name one more time.
Yeah, Hideki Matsuyama is the name. We'll get the odds figured out, but you do
Gotcha.
stand a chance. So I assume you bet all those 200 points, right?
Yeah.
And maybe brings him to the slots or something.
Throw all those 200 points on there, and in the event that you win, we'll I don't know, send you an email.
Oh, well, we have merch. We'll send merch. Come on.
Sure. We'll
Come
send
on.
you
We
a
gotta
mug or
send some
something.
merch.
All right,
Wait,
everybody.
I'm
We'll
I'm going to change my pick something a little better odds. Damn.
there you go. Yeah, I didn't know you were getting a shirt. All right, everybody. Again, go to yaybasketball.com for exclusive YB merch. We've got t-shirts, mugs, hats, hoodies, stickers, with a bunch of great designs. So go grab some of that sweet Yay Basketball merch.
Free! Nope, sorry.
Yaybasketball.com for exclusive YB merch. Also, join our chalkboard group chat. Hit the link in the description to do so. It is a fun and
Free!
I thought you were gonna say like
Excuse me?
merge. Way to support the show. Thank you so much for listening. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, rate 5 stars, share with friends, and follow us at @Yay_basketball on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And just a reminder, we are recording live from the Yay studio,
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
which, if you do not know, we do not edit. We press record and we post what we got. Bob, what do you got for the people?
Real quick, Ryan, in Toronto, you have Marquise Noel and Grady Dick now. Are these starters in 2 years?
Grady will be starting. I love Marquise. I don't know if I could say the same.
I love it. The Kansans were wondering. Anyway, I think Pacers were my favorite team because they traded down and still got their guy and 2 second-round picks. It's insane. Jarris Walker, everyone's saying Paul Millsap. No, man, he's much better than that. And Mojave King, Ignite, here we go. You were talking Ignite versus dumbass overtime earlier. And yeah, man, I think Mojave King's a big deal. So Pacers, that was my pick.
Okay.
That was my win.
Justin, what do you have for the people?
I mean, it's a great day to be a wizard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Wizards watch. You know what? I was debating whether it was going somewhere. It's not going
not.
anywhere.
No.
We might have some news segments though.
Into the ground.
But I do have one question. Statement, Ryan. You were, I think, our first guest, like, to phone in, kind of a situation, and I do appreciate that.
Since
That's awesome.
himself last year. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, no, that's what I'm saying. He was our first.
It was Zach
one?
Hernandez was
The
first.
one
Ah,
and the only.
Yeah.
But I just want you to tell me why Tristan Vucevic will be the next Nikola Jokic. Because second round pick, Serbia, it all makes sense, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
That's how it goes.
He can shoot the hell out of the ball. There you go.
There you go. Ryan, again, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you?
Ryan Hammer 09 on Twitter, and then just take the 0 out for everything else. I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay.
Complicated process, complicated thing, right? Situation.
Ryan Hammer 9 on TikTok and all that stuff. Awesome. You were going hard during the draft. Posted a whole bunch of stuff. So go check that out for some more in-depth breakdowns on Ryan's TikTok page and all over the place. Thanks again for joining us, buddy. We really do appreciate it.
Of course, I love coming on. I am coming to KC next time. I will make it happen. So I'm not via satellite, and we'll make
Nice.
it happen. Right?
Awesome.
right, sounds
Yes,
good.
sir. We will
Oh,
have you
yeah.
in person, and we'll be all set up ready for you. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We really do appreciate it. It has been a good one. Had our boy Ryan on the show and talked all things draft. And next time we'll be talking all things free agency. We love you. Don't forget, yay basketball.